All right, so to get started on the mini landscape project, the first thing you're going to do is you're gonna grab a piece of the canvas paper. It's kind of thin. You're gonna feel one side is soft, like it feels kind of like cotton, and then the other side, it has like a surface on it. Oh, by the way, I swear my hands are clean. I was tie dyeing this weekend, so my hands look really gross. But anyway. You want to paint on the side that feels like it's a little plasticky, okay? Because that's the side that has gesso on it. What you're going to do is grab a piece of cardboard from the back. I'm going to cut up some cardboard boxes. And then you just have to tape down this piece of canvas paper. Otherwise, it just doesn't like to stick. It'll curl up on you and stuff, okay? All right, now I'm gonna do this in my sketchbook so it's easier to see. But hold on a second, I feel like this. There we go. Okay. So to get started on them, we're just doing these like mini landscapes to just practice how to do a landscape, and then you'll have all these techniques ready for you when you're ready to do the project. So the first thing you have to do is you have to break up your canvas into a background, a middle ground, and a foreground. Remember, background is everything, the sky, stuff that's super far away. So sky, mountains, maybe you have trees way behind. Middle ground is the stuff that kind of takes up the middle of the paper, and it's usually medium size. And then foreground, that's the stuff that's closest to us. It's typically bigger in scale, and usually you can see more details, more color, and we keep it down here towards the bottom of our paper, though it can cross the horizon line. Okay, so the first thing you have to do when you draw a landscape or paint a landscape is create that horizon line. You can see I already did that here. The horizon line is what's going to separate the sky from the ground. Anything that you want, like trees, water, anything that's supposed to be on Earth, needs to start below the horizon line. Okay, it can start very near it, but it cannot start above the horizon line. If it does, it will look as if it's floating. Okay? All right, you got that down. Okay, so let's get started. There's a couple ways that you could attempt to do a sky. And the first one I'm going to show you, a lot of people like to do a sky that looks like it has like a little bit of a sunset to it. So what I'm going to do is so you see I kind of I lightly sketched my trees out, but you don't need to worry about that. We'll get to that. So typically a sunset has a little bit of yellow. Now here's the trick. You don't want to make your yellow and blue mix together because you usually don't ever see green in a sunset. I don't know why. It seems like you would because the yellow of the sun and the blue of the sky, but it's just the way the light refracts through the clouds and the sun and the atmosphere. Okay, so now I'm going to take a little red. I'm going to come up here. Notice how I'm painting horizontal. And I'm going back and forth. Okay. My paper is going to warp a little bit just because I'm using paper. But now I'm going to go in with blue. And see how I pull a little bit of the blue into my sky? All right. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a little more red. Because like I said, I don't want that red. I don't want that blue and yellow to mix because then I'll end up with green in my sky and it just doesn't happen. So now I'm going to take a little red. Now remember that technique I talked about when we were working on our first project, where I actually do the blending on the paper. So see how I'm kind of blending on the paper. I'm going to go in with a little white. Just because I wanted to kind of lighten it up a little bit. All right. And now I have myself a sunset. Okay. Some of you might want to paint clouds. So you might say, Ms. Hawkins, I wanna try a sky with clouds. Okay, great. Well, here's what you have to do. Hang on. I'm gonna turn my brush. Okay. Oh shoot. Okay, let's try this again. All right, so if I'm going to paint a sky with clouds, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here with blue. Yeah, got a little too watery. And then I'm going to come in with some white. Notice how I'm switching the way I'm painting. I'm not going side to side when I pull in with that white. I'm now going up and down. And it's hard to see. I can tell right now on the camera you can't really see it. So when you get to this point, you can, if you want to try clouds, just shout at me because this reflection is not working very well. But anyway, clouds typically have a shadow underneath. So if you're doing a cloud, it should be bright on the top and dull on the bottom. Okay? Okay. All right. Let's get back to our other one. I'm sorry that reflection is so crazy. All right. So you have your sky. We got to let that sky dry a little bit before we attempt anything else in this, any trees, anything that's going to touch the sky. So now let's work on some water. Okay. Right here, I've kind of created a river path or stream or whatever. So I'm going to come in and notice that my stream starts small towards the horizon line and then big as it gets down here to the foreground. Okay. Because remember that illusion of depth. Things that are closer to us appear bigger, and as they move farther away from us, they appear smaller. Okay. That's the element of space. So I'm just going to taking some blue, and I'm going horizontal. And I'm laying in a body of water. Now notice I'm not making it perfectly even. I'm kind of like leaving it a little bit chunky. There's some areas that are darker blue than others. The other key is that I'm going off the edge of my page. Make sure you don't, just go right on top of the tape. Don't try to like keep it in there. Now, something that happens when things are farther away from us, the color is actually a little bit duller. So what I'm going to do here in a second, as soon as I finish up my water here, I'm going to go back into the background part of this this river or whatever, and I'm going to kind of dull it up. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to mix up a quick little, remember you can add the complement color to any, so for blue, I'm going to add a little orange. I'm going to take a little orange, and that will help kind of like neutralize my blue a little bit. So I'm going to bring that back here because I don't really want this super bright blue, just because it's farther away. So I need to kind of dull that. I probably should be using a smaller brush, but okay. So now I'm like, okay, I got a little dullness in. And I'm going to go in with some white to create some reflection lines because, you know, we know the water, the light reflects off the water and creates this illusion of like white. There even could be some waves, some ripply waves. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with my white. And with acrylic paint, it's okay to leave a little texture to it. So if you've got like some, you know, chunks of paint sticking up from your canvas, that's okay. That's kind of the neat thing about acrylics because they are plastic polymer. And then I'm even going way back here too because I need to dull that up. Because they're a plastic polymer, it's okay. They create that interesting texture when they dry. So I've gone in, I've added some white. Okay. I'm like, great. Now remember what I talked about with our first project. Acrylics is about layering. So yeah, I've got a layer on. Does it look great? No, I've got a base layer on, so we're good. So now what I'm just going to take a different brush because this one's not drying out. I'm going to go back in with a little more blue. And I'm going to layer on some more blue. We're going to try to add some deeper blues down here where it's closer to us. going to go back here because it's got a little on the green side, so I'm just going to kind of go back there. So I'm layering this up. Okay. And I'm going to keep kind of going back and forth with the blue and a little white until I'm kind of happy with the amount of reflection, the amount of texture that my water has, until I feel like, okay, that's a pretty solid body of water right there. Okay. All right. In the next video, I'll explain how to do the trees and the sides.